Chasing Giants with Don Higgins and Terry Peer. Brought to you by Osseo Camo, nature's most lethal camouflage. Follow along as Don and Terry discuss the techniques, strategies, and dedication needed to harvest one of God's most amazing creations, world-class whitetails.
Hey everyone, I just want to give you a little update on my health issue. A lot of you seen the post that I made on social media where I was in the hospital this week for a couple days. And to give you guys a story, I was on my way to a consulting visit Thursday morning, I guess it was. I left real early. I had a 3-hour drive and woke up with a headache and took some ibuprofen. I've been having a lot of headaches lately, and the ibuprofen pretty much takes care of it. But on this morning, I took the ibuprofen when I left. Headache did not go away. It just got worse. And then about an hour and a half into my trip, I stopped and took more ibuprofen, continued on my way, and I was almost to my destination. And the headache was just worse and worse. Started also having some blurry vision, lightheadedness. So I made the decision to turn around and head back towards home. Partway, about halfway between where I was at and home was Springfield, Illinois, which has a really good hospital. And I was hoping to make it back there, and I did. And once I was there, I felt like I could make it all the way home. Called my wife. She was waiting to take me to the hospital. So I went to the hospital. They admitted me, ran several tests. They initially thought I probably had a mini stroke, but could not prove that. Did several tests, kept me overnight. I was in there for 2 days, and they never did figure it out. I got to go back for some more tests because even now, my headaches are not as bad, but when I got to the hospital, my blood pressure was sky high. It was 181 over 112. And they brought it down when I left. It was down to 130 over 79, so a lot better. Gave me some blood pressure medicine and also a blood thinner. But I got to go back to the hospital. Got some appointments for some more tests. I got to figure out what's going on because there's something definitely not right. Having headaches and blurry vision, lightheadedness, weakness, almost on a daily basis. So anyway, so many of you have reached out, not only on social media, leaving comments there, but I've got so many texts and calls, and my wife has, and Terry has, and just much appreciated. I can't tell you, when something like that happens, I guess that's when you find out how many friends you got. And I've got a bunch of them because you guys reached out, and even now, a couple days later, still got you guys reaching out, and I know I'm in a lot of people's prayers, and it's much appreciated. I can't say for sure that I had a stroke. That's what they initially thought, a mini stroke. But something is definitely not right. So I'm going to stay home from the consulting trail. Might do a couple small local properties, but I'm not going to get very far from home for a while, and just don't want to be on the road, hours from home. So if you're on my list for consulting this winter, please be patient. I'm going to do my best to get to everybody, but I need to get this health issue figured out first. So if you guys would continue to pray, that'd be much appreciated. And I can't tell you how much it means to me that you folks think so much of me that you're reaching out and asking Terry, and my wife's been getting messages, and a lot of close friends. So, thank you so much for all that. And I will keep you posted so you know what's going on. This week on the Chasing Giants podcast, since I was not available, I told Terry to go ahead with whoever he could find. I think he did it with Joe Miles, but hope you guys enjoy that. I plan to be back on Chasing Giants next week with Terry, and maybe you guys can submit a question and get me fired up this week. Thank you all, and God bless.
Well, welcome everyone to the Chasing Giants podcast brought to you by Osseo Gear, and we look a little bit different today. We got a substitute co-host on, Joe Miles. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, man, I am glad to be here. I don't know that I'm glad to be here under the premise that we are here, brother, but I am glad to be here. I am on location in Mexico right now, if you can believe it.
So, fair warning for those watching on YouTube or listening, Joe is in another country. This is a first. Chasing Giants has gone international. He's in a different country. Hopefully we keep good enough Wi-Fi, but if you haven't heard, we're recording on Friday. Don is in the hospital getting some tests. He made it known today on social media. And we just told him we were going to take care of the podcast and let him rest and deal with his stuff. And Joe had an unbelievable week his first couple days in Mexico. So I texted Joe and said, what's the chances you got Wi-Fi in Mexico? And we'll talk about this hunt that you've been on down there and get an update of that while we sub out Don for a week. And you were game for it. So thanks for being on the show. I'm excited to hear about this, learn about what it's like hunting south of the border. And then after we take a break, you're going to come back and admit that you're just like every single one of us dealing with the emotional roller coaster of a target buck that just is absolutely driving you bonkers. But first of all, let's dive into this Mexico thing. When did you get there? Let's talk about this hunt.
Yeah, man. So this is my 5th year down here. I absolutely love it. And the thing I like the most about it, Terry, is that, you know, you go from that Midwest grind where the temperatures are crazy cold. You know, it's a lot of the sits are daylight to dark if you're in the right spot. You know, it's a mind game. And then you get down here and it's just absolute action packed. Highs, you know, in the upper 60s this week, lows in the 40s. But I will say, as you guys are watching on YouTube, I'm in the lodge, but there's no heat here, so it is a damp cold right now. It's raining, but man, the weather has been perfect. And I have to say, in all my years of hunting, this has been the best 2 days that I have ever had. You know, we talk about hunting season being a marathon, not a sprint, and stay positive, stay in the game. You just never know when things are going to pop and go your way. And for me, it's been a great hunting season for me. I've learned a ton, and we'll get into the South Carolina deer here in a little bit, but you know, I didn't kill a buck in Kansas. You know, didn't kill one in Ohio. Haven't killed one yet at home. Haven't killed one yet at home. Let me say that again. And then, you know, I get down to Mexico and you don't know exactly what to expect. And then it was just literally bam, bam, 2 mega giants, a big 10.
You've killed 2 bucks already.
Yeah, two bucks already. Yeah.
2 bucks in 2 days. Is that what it's been?
2 back-to-back mornings. First morning in, I killed a big 10. And then this morning killed an absolute giant 8, just a pig of an 8. And the owner is here. He and I have become very good friends. It's a 30,000 acre ranch, all free range. And when I got here, he said, Joe, there is an 8-point on the ranch that is the ranch buck this year. And if you'd like to go after him, you can. And so luck was definitely on my side. And this morning we got in the blind a little early, and as it started getting light, we saw him cross down one of the senderos, and then he was gone. And about an hour later, I heard a buck snort wheeze at one of the young ones that was in the sendero, and the young buck turned and walked away, and out he popped. And I mean, he's probably 24 inches wide with 12-inch twos. He's got one brow's broken, and he's got 9-inch threes, and he's just a pig.
Did you happen to hang him up yet? I mean, you showed me a video of him standing, but I guess right before the shot, and it might be one of the biggest bodied whitetail I think I've ever seen.
Oh, the management program here is ridiculous. The amount that they supplemental feed, and you know, that's what you have to do it's different. The hunting here is so much different than, say, a Kansas and Illinois and Ohio. It just, it's supplemental feed. They've got a feed program all year long. The management, it just shows you what you can do with the right nutrition and age structure. Like, they do not shoot a buck under 6 years old here. And it is a privilege for me to, have the opportunity to hunt here. It's completely different than anything that you and I normally do, right? And a lot of the listeners, it's a different world. But I am so thankful to have the opportunity to hunt here.
So talk a little bit about Joe. I remember as a kid, well, I shouldn't say as a kid, but as a younger guy, what was the videos, Bucks of Tecomate, when they were hunting South Texas and the rut? What stage? I mean, you're in Mexico, you're a whole lot farther south. We're filming on December 6th. Has the rut happened? Is it going on? Talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing, just from what time of the year is it?
It is classic pre-rut. It is just, it would be like getting into that October 25th with a good cold weather. I mean, there's snort wheezing, there's rutting. There's rutting as far as sorting out who's the boss. There's a lot of scraping, rubbing, and then a lot of posturing, no chasing yet. There's a little bit of the young bucks are starting to nose the does around a little bit. But the beauty of it is that it's just getting going, and it's the first week of December. By next week or the week after, it should be full on rut.
So when you guys crawl into the stand the last 2 days, is this one of those things where you see, these unbelievable high deer numbers, or is it the buck quality of the bucks that you're seeing? When you see one, it's a great one type thing?
So the age structure, right? So it's kind of, it's a very well balanced age structure. Like the farm that I hunted on in Kansas this year, we were missing an entire 3 and 4 year old. There was a whole bunch of 1.5 old, a whole bunch of 2.5s, very few 3.5s, no 4.5s, and then there was one 5.5 or 6.5. Here, the age structure, you see it. Now, obviously, the younger bucks are, as soon as you get in the stand, they're popping out, and the older deer are doing their thing. But man, in any given sit, you're going to see 4 and 5 and 6 year old bucks. So it's pretty. I mean, it's Disney World.
What's the topography like? I mean, are you hunting cactus in a desert, or is it hilly? Walk us through kind of
it's really, really flat brush country. Very, very flat. There are some drainages, but I'm looking out the window here. There's not a tree or a bush over 5 feet tall.
Really? So are you in those tripods or shooting houses, or what do you hunt out of?
Houses. Yeah. Very similar to the 360 blinds. Exactly those. That's what they have. And that's what we hunt out of. They will do some pop-up blind stuff and some brush blind stuff, but most of it's done out of the shooting houses.
Wow. Okay. I bet those get really, really hot before it gets into December. You can't imagine those things being a sauna.
Yes. Yeah. I've been down too when it's been 75, 80 degrees, and you're going to have every window open, and you're going to be in I'll throw a plug in, ICO early season stuff.
A non-shameless plug. We're beyond that point, right?
Yeah, the discount code is Chasing Giants 20.
Well, I think it's cool to just talk about Mexico because, especially even this podcast, I mean, obviously we talk about Illinois and Iowa and all this. I don't think a lot of our listeners, even Mexico's on people's radar. And when we have the opportunity, like we do right now, for an unfortunate situation with Don being in the hospital, I shot you this text. I was like, hey, can we talk about this hunt? I just think it's a great perspective to learn a little bit about. It's the same critter that we're all hunting in just a different part of the world. What other animals are even running around down there? I guess you see other stuff besides whitetail.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We saw a big hog this morning, just typical hog. Then we saw a group of javelinas, and those are, they're kind of in between a giant, for a lot of guys know, but some of the listeners won't. They're kind of like in between a giant muskrat and a small hog. And they're ferocious little critters, and they're called javelinas, and they're native to this part of the world. So we've seen quite a few of those. Then from an exotic perspective, There's some axis deer running around. There's some, some fallow bucks. They've got some other exotic stuff running around, but mainly it's the whitetails, a few hogs, and then the javelinas. That's what you normally see. And normally you see the javelinas, and they're, from a bow hunting perspective, that's a pretty cool critter, bonus animal that you can get out and do some spot and stalk on them, and they're neat little critters to hunt.
So as you, like, where in the geography of Mexico are you? How far south down from Texas are you?
So we come into Laredo, Texas, which is kind of like in the middle, I guess, to the southern part. If you were looking on the border with Mexico, it'd be kind of right in the middle to a little bit south of the midpoint on the Texas border. And then once we get across the border, it literally is a 30-minute drive, and we're so it's, if guys that are familiar with the Golden Triangle of Texas, like McAllen, Laredo, Eagle Pass, we're sandwiched right south of that. So genetic wise, the minerals in the soil, we're right in the spot you want to be.
I get you. Yeah, it sounds fascinating. So on this hunt, you were allowed to kill 2 bucks. So how long are you staying, and what's the plan for the rest of the trip?
So right now, a buddy of mine came down, and then Andrew's here. He was doing some filming, so we've got some good footage for Chasing Giants TV coming, especially the one this morning. I made a absolutely really good shot on him. The first buck was not my prettiest work, and I need to kind of have my butt beat for that. I preach about being prepared and practice and all that, but it just goes to show you the bow hunting game. It teaches you a lesson every single time you go out, and you can never sharpen your skills enough, and you're going to make mistakes, and that's part of what we do. And I think that's part of why we love it so much, because it is difficult, and when you are able to capitalize, it sure does make it sweet. But
but I think that's why people are kind of drawn to what we do, is we don't try to fake it. This industry is full of, we talked about it before, this industry is full of people that's going to go back to a tree and redo all of their B-roll and post-production and make it something it's not, to try to hide the reality of what, even Don mentioned it on his video of Zacchaeus, to be transparent with the viewer and say, I screwed up. I need to be better at this. We're just like everybody else watching this video right now. And I think the transparency there, I think everybody learns from it a little bit more, and everybody relates to us a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, if there's been a mistake that's been made in the hunting world, I will be, if you look in the encyclopedia, I'll be the first guy's picture right there, because I've screwed up every possible thing you can screw up. But you do it long enough, you have successful outings. And again, this was, of all my years of bow hunting, 35 plus years, this was the best 2 days I've ever had. And then if you rewind, and again, we'll get into the South Carolina buck here in a little bit, but if you rewind a week, and it was not certainly, from a shot perspective, it was one of the worst seasons that I've had. Now from a learning perspective, it was one of the best seasons I've had. So yeah, man, everybody does it the same. We all lace up our boots the same and get after it.
Well, you're on Andrew's laptop right now. Is he sitting in the room with you?
He is not. He has gone back to his room, and I think he is taking a siesta, and I'm going to go in there and prod him with something as soon as we get off of here, because that's not fair.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take, I was going to make his first cameo appearance if he was sitting off to the side on the couch, if he was there. But instead, we're going to take a quick break and be right back. And I want to talk a little bit about something else, and you just touched on it as it relates to this hunting activity, because we learned at the Legends Roundtable last year from the Wenzel brothers, we don't call it a sport, if you remember that. So yes. We'll be right back.
Osseo Gear introduces a premium line of bow hunting gear that is unmatched, pairing nature's finest camouflage with the best technological innovations. Osseo Gear brings whitetail bow hunters the gear they need to be the best at their craft. The unique camouflage mimics the intricate feather pattern of North America's greatest predatory creatures. Designed for invisibility, built for comfort, and engineered for function. Visit AsioGear.com. That's ASIO Gear.com to start shopping. Asio Gear. Prepare to be invisible.
All right, Joe. Well, we just finished up talking again. Congratulations on 2 just fantastic bucks. We're going to talk about this. I'm going to call it a cat and mouse game you've been doing with this buck in South Carolina. But I think you're honest enough with our listeners that you won't mind me kind of poking you on this. You know, when we first kind of joined Asio and Chasing Giants together, and people already knew who you were, I don't know if I'm not going to say we put pressure on you, but at that time, that stretch of those many years, I mean, you were laying down like 6 and 8 bucks a year. And through that whole process, then you come into a year like you are this year. And aside from the South Carolina buck, leave that story for a minute. Just getting to the point till you're at December 5th and you haven't shot one yet.
Yep.
Does it get to the point that yesterday, does it just like the weight's off your back and okay, now I can just enjoy it? Or are you able at this point in your career to just separate it and enjoy the ride? Because I'm going to answer the same question about my buck, because I hadn't shot a buck in 3 years, but I'm really curious because our listeners the reason I'm getting to this, our listeners, when they get to the certain point where they're hunting a specific quality or a specific buck, this is what happens. They go from where they're just shooting the best buck they see or brown it's down, and this weight or this anxiety or this, they go through that transition where you have a dry spell. It happens to everybody. What did it feel like yesterday when you shot that buck and you got your hands on it? Was it cool it happened, or was it the weight of the world coming off? I got him.
No, I won't say it was the weight of the world. And I agree that the longer you do this, it's a long game. And that's how I have really, really looked at it the last few seasons. I have been, like you said, it's been 4 to 6, 7, 8 bucks a season, and, knocked down 2 in, South Carolina, and then done a couple in the Midwest, and then, a couple in Texas or Mexico. So it's been like that year after year. But then when you do get fixated on one particular buck, man, you can go 3 years without getting him. I mean, it can take some time. And this season was definitely different for me because in August, I located that buck in South Carolina, and I was like, okay, this is it. I want to try and get him killed as fast as I can. And I had hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. And because of that, I had stuff like I didn't get drawn in Kansas, so I could only hunt on a landowner tag on a landowner farm, which I have a little small farm out there. That's where I was pigeonholed I could hunt. Didn't have anything really organized in Ohio. Our buddy Jeff, who Don knows, I don't know if you've met Jeff before, great guy, and he's given me permission to hunt one of his farms up there. Nothing really big showed up there, so I didn't want to go there. So I had pretty much planned on killing this deer in South Carolina and then, figuring out what would be next. And that was, and I was okay with that. I truly was okay going the whole year without killing a deer. I learned a ton. I've learned a lot about this buck in South Carolina, the place in Kansas that I hunted. I had an incredible funnel and everything worked really well there. I saw 16 different bucks come through that funnel, just never the big deer that I'd gotten a couple pictures of. He had obviously wandered off. And again, an 80-acre farm, that deer could have got hit by a car, killed by another hunter. I just don't know. It's a thing now in my mind. Yeah, it's great to kill one. It's not necessary for me to kill one to have a successful season.
Right. I think about the journey, I killed that buck. I shouldn't say I didn't kill a buck for 3 years because I shot a wounded buck 3 years ago. So the year before I didn't tag a deer, but I look back at when the first year I tried to film. It was actually the first year I met Don. I wasn't emotionally ready and mature enough to deal with the pressure from the outside saying you didn't kill one that we get today in your position or my position, because the heat comes. I mean, it's crazy. Why haven't you killed something yet? You're on podcast. Why haven't you killed something? Or you own a camo company. Why haven't you killed something? I wasn't mature enough for that. And I had several people ask me that same question: did it feel like the weight of the world? And I'm like, no, it didn't. It felt more rewarding, because I didn't cave to some subpar standard. You could have gone, and who knows how many bucks you could have killed if you wanted to, but you had that specific goal and you're still on that pace to go do that with what you're doing. And I think instead of saying the weight's off my shoulders, I think Wes asked me actually if I felt relieved, and I said, no, I'm humbled that all of this took that long and it finally came together. But wow, was that a journey, and wow, did you learn something? I mean, let's walk through specifics on this South Carolina buck, going back to when you first, you told me at one point, I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you told Don and I, you said, I'm going all in on this buck.
Yeah.
I think that's the words you used. Are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. So, we're dealing with Mexico Wi-Fi here, but you had a hurricane flash flooding. Walk us through the challenges that went through what we're dealing with up till today.
Yeah. So, I knew the deer had made it to the end of hunting season in South Carolina. Rifle hunting starts, or in our part of South Carolina, it starts August 15th, goes to January 1st. So rifle hunters throughout the Congaree River Basin where I hunt. And I got a picture of the deer at the very end of the season, or the season was actually over, and I got a picture of the buck. And, I knew he was alive then, but I had no idea if he was still alive, if he made it all the way to spring, whatever. I don't run cameras then. So I get my cameras out, and our season opens August 15th, and the 12th, I get him on some muscadines and a super early dropping sawtooth oak. It was dropping crazy early.
Wow.
Yeah, normally they don't drop to the very end of August, 1st of September is when they start dropping. Well, this thing was 2 weeks early, and muscadines, and it was a perfect storm. And I had the camera there, and the dadgum thing was daylighting every afternoon. And I was like, "You're dead, August 15th." I'm looking at the weather, and that's the kiss of death, right? I mean, that is the kiss of death when you get that overconfident. And I never will forget. I had that camera in there, and the batteries were getting kind of low, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to slip in there, change those batteries. I got 3 more days before the season even opens. I'm going to run in the middle of the day. So I go down there, and I'm driving around a corner, and here around the other corner, here comes one of the caretakers that works on this farm with 2 giant buckets of corn, because we're allowed to feed in South Carolina, and his eyes got as big as saucers, and he said, "Boy, have I found a big deer."
Oh, no.
And I said, "Okay, well, I found a big one too."
Oh, no.
Let's compare notes. And sure enough, it was the same buck, and he had set up his spot. He didn't know that I was in that. He knew that I had hunted that deer last year. He didn't know I was in that area, and very gracious. Long story short, the deer got bumped and vanished. So I'm like, okay, time to relocate. So when that came around, what I did is, I'll set the stage here a little bit. Our Congaree River Swamp, it's all cut over, giant hardwood, river bottom, and then planted pines. So if there's a field, it's maybe a half acre, and you can't see. There is no long range glassing or anything like that. So the way you locate is with lots of trail cameras. So just put a dadgum net of trail cameras throughout this entire farm. And sure enough, about a mile away from where I had him, I got pictures of him again. And it was really pretty neat. I found some scrapes, and I actually think I jumped him when I was looking. I mean, it was a big deer got up, and there were some big scrapes in the area. And so I got 3 trail cameras along this big trail down the river. And this is crazy how this bad luck this is. But all of a sudden, I start getting pictures of him. And I'm getting daylight pictures of him coming out of this big cane thicket down the side of the river. Real sneaky what he was doing. And I had to have a west wind, and we had like a week of southeast. And, you know, I couldn't even get out in the river and come in from the opposite side because there were no trees. It was cut over in that area. And so I had to wait for any west, and we had southeast for like 7 days in a row. But again, he's dead. As soon as we get west wind, I mean, like every afternoon he's coming out of this cane thicket. So then all of a sudden, was it Helene or Helena, the hurricane Helene, I think is Helen, whatever it was. It came in and decimated North Carolina. And I'm not thinking a whole lot about that, but the owner of the property, my best friend, he called me and said, Joe, we got a bad flood coming. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, yeah, all that rain that hit upstate North Carolina, that's coming down the Congaree River. The Broad River and the Saluda River merge and create the Congaree, and all that water is coming to us. And he said, in 3 days, we'll be underwater. So I was like, all right, I'll wait till Friday, and I'm going to go pull all my trail cameras out so they don't get ruined. Still got the east wind, nothing I can do about it. So Friday, I go in there, and we got a bunch of like this hurricane force or tornado type winds. We blocked every single road, knocked down every power line. So I couldn't even get into the farm to pull my cameras out. So I just watched my cameras flood. Just watch.
You were sending pictures to me of the water was here, that it was here, that it was here. And you were like, I wonder if we're going to get a picture of a catfish swimming by here in a little bit.
We got wood ducks. We got wood ducks swimming by. We got hogs swimming by, and all you could see were their noses, raccoons swimming by. Long story short, I landed the plane on the flood, but, you know, it completely decimated the swamp, ruined a whole bunch of cameras. Some of the cameras actually made it. And I was pretty impressed by that because they went all the way underwater, then the water went away and they were still working. But what happened, it blew a ton of timber and all kind of stuff in there and just changed everything. So that was kind of crazy. Let's see. What happened next?
That would have been mid-October, right?
Yeah.
That was all, those hurricanes were mid-October.
Yep. So, something else. Oh, yeah. This is where it even gets better. Nobody's going to believe this. So what do I do? You know, obviously I'm not quitting. I'm staying after the buck. So I go down my trail cameras that I can salvage. I move them to another area and about another mile away. And sure enough, he pops back up. I get a 3 a.m. picture of him. And I'm like, all right, he's still alive. We don't know how many deer have been killed in the flood. You know, if he's even going to come back in there once the flood left. And so I'm like, okay. But this was a really difficult area because it was just like, let's call it 150 acres of planted pines that are older. So there's no big canopy. So it's grown up underneath and there's no way to pinch him down. He just is wandering through there, but I'm like, all right, I'm going to get in the tightest little ditch crossing I can find, hunt him right there and just put in my time and make it happen. So I'm like, okay, I've got the wind I want and we've got some cold temperatures coming. I'm going to go in there and get cracking. So I go in there, get started hunting him. I've gotten a couple right at daylight and right at night pictures. So I'm like, okay, he's up, the rut's here. He's gonna daylight. And all of a sudden I'm in my stand and I hear, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm like, what in the world? A timber company moves in to that the standing fines and they cut them all, Terry. They're still cutting them. They're cutting them right now. They're cutting them. And of course that's part of it, right? If I called my best buddy and said, hey man, November, is that a really good time to be cutting trees? He'd tell me to kiss his butt, right? I mean, it's his farm and I have the privilege of hunting there.
Unbelievable.
So everything was set. I just didn't know it and I hadn't asked. So timber company rolls into that exact spot and they have completely clear cut down to Mother Earth all the trees in there. And now I'm in Mexico and, we got a bunch of cold weather and my cameras are dying. So I'm going to get home day after tomorrow, get cracking again. And, I've got about 3 weeks left to try and get it done. And guess what? I may not get him. I have learned a ton about what he does during a natural disaster and during disaster. So next year, if we get a 100-year flood or an earthquake or a tornado, I'll know exactly where to go. I'll be one step ahead of him.
I don't know that we want annual patterns to play out in this scenario, buddy. I don't know that that's going to be a good thing for any of us. So
no, we do not want that.
Well, man, first of all, I appreciate you jumping on here at the last minute. We obviously wish it was under better circumstances, but I wanted to celebrate these 2 bucks that you were able to harvest in Mexico. And it's not going to be a long episode today. We don't want to make it something it's not, but we wanted to make sure we got out here and tell everybody. I know a lot of people without social media might be hearing that Don was in the hospital. Hopefully, by the time this gets out and releases on Sunday, he's got a clean bill of health and they figured out what was wrong and going about his normal day. But we'll keep everybody posted. But we're going to wrap it up. I guess I'll just give the opportunity. Tell us what's going on with Mission Whitetail Podcast, Osseo, anything like that. You just finished up Black Friday. I saw pictures on social media. It looks like you need a bigger warehouse if that's going to happen very often again.
Well, man, first and foremost, obviously thoughts and prayers with Don and his family and a speedy recovery there. We're on a podcast, joking and all that, and he's definitely dealing with some serious stuff there, and thoughts and prayers with him, and hope everything works out, fast, and he gets out of the hospital, gets home, and obviously you'll keep everybody posted, and I'll do the same on my end. But as far as Osseo gear, yeah, man, we had the best Black Friday that we've ever had. It was absolutely insane. We really appreciate all the support from your listeners. That's a big part of our business is the Chasing Giants family, and appreciate that. Mission Whitetail's still rolling. We've had some pretty funny ones the last couple podcasts that we've done. We had Meredith on. I think 2 episodes ago, and that was hilarious. She's a longbow hunter out of Virginia, and she's a pistol, and that was a lot of fun having her on. But yeah, man, everything's going good. The Black Friday sale was the best. We had the best November we've ever had, and a lot of that goes to what you and Don have done, promoting us and believing in us, and we appreciate that more than you know.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you guys also. But yeah, say a prayer for Don, his family, whatever's going on. We hope it has quick resolution. And thanks, Joe. Congratulations on your buck. And we will be back next week, hopefully, with the boss in the other pole position and not Joe. But thanks for filling in.
It can only handle so much of my ugly mug. I got to get out of here.
And good luck with.
Yeah, I'm going back to eat tamales and fajitas. Where I'm headed.
There you go. And but thanks for filling in. God bless everyone. Take care. Say prayer for Don if you don't mind. God bless.
Ever had a terrible real estate experience? Average realtors usually spend more time selling themselves than on selling your land. They'll tell you anything to get the listing. They know that if they get the listing, you're stuck with them. Not here. Midwest Land Group has changed the way land is sold and is the only brokerage to offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. That means if we don't meet your expectations, you can fire us. That puts all the pressure on us to perform. We don't just list land, we sell it. If you're looking to buy or sell property, don't before you talk to us. Visit us at MidwestLandGroup.com.
Chasing Giants has been brought to you by Osseo Camo. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week for another episode of Chasing Giants.
Welcome to this week's Sunday night prayer time. It seems like this is the week that we can focus on subbing out the regular scheduled programming, if you will. We just got done listening to episode 251 of the Chasing Giants podcast, where Joe Miles filled in for Don Higgins, who's in the hospital right now. We asked that hopefully by the time this airs on Sunday night that he'll have a lot of answers to some concerns that he's had, and the reason he's in the hospital here on Friday when this is being recorded. But also this week, our regular contributor Devin Hurley, which many of you who followed Sunday Night Prayer Time since we started it, he's a regular contributor. He's a local minister near where we live. His children have been sick this week and even been in the hospital. So with him running and trying to prepare for a sermon this week, I just told him we'll cover for you this week, focus on your family and getting ready for church services this week. So unfortunately everyone gets stuck with me. But whether it's us covering for Don for the podcast or us covering for Devin for Sunday Night Prayer Time, I think about us covering. And as we approach holiday season, I know there's just a lot of people hurting in a lot of different ways, and I can't help but think about the sense of community that we have through Luster's Feet, through other outlets. And I just thought I would be a little bit of an encouragement tonight before we go in prayer, to read Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I will not be in need. He lets me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for the sake of his name. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Certainly, goodness and faithfulness will follow me all the days of my life, and my dwelling will be in the house of the Lord forever. Folks, we have the assurance of something much bigger than anything here. Eternity is even hard to grasp for us today. The pain, sickness, financial burdens, whatever drama that we're dealing with today, not having one bit of that when we're in heaven is hard to comprehend or even fathom one day. But we have the assurance through Jesus that all of that goes away when we're in paradise. And I just hope that as we approach the holiday season, that sense of community, and just like we're doing this week where we're covering for each other, become that community in your church, in your community. Go cover for somebody. There's nothing profound doctrinally in this little short segment of video. But what it does is just be an encouragement to each of you. Find some way to make a difference in somebody's life and cover for them this week. Be a blessing to someone else. I'm also going to mention that, as you know, Luster's Feet was first started to help the family of the Wards. Both Adley and Tinley Ward both had leukemia. If you follow their Facebook page, one of those little girls is going to go under a pretty extensive brain surgery right around the first of the year. So, it's been years since we've helped that family, but we still stay in contact. I consider them still family. They wrap their arms around Luster's Feet and are still very supportive of us for what happened back many years ago. But those little girls still are navigating some health problems. So, we have Don, we have Devin and his family, have the Wards, and so many other people that we need to go to God in prayer about. And most of all, thank him that no matter what storm is coming, we have the assurance of heaven through his son Jesus. So if you're not right with the Lord, or you have questions, we do this every week to try to encourage people, but I want to make sure you all understand, if you have a question and you feel that you're not right with the Lord, reach out to one of us. We're here to talk to you. We're here to encourage you. But most of all, we're here to witness to you. And if there's a question you have or something just doesn't feel right, we'd love to talk with you about it. Let's go to God in prayer. Father, as we cover for everybody this week, whether we're prepared or not, whether we just do a short little devotion or we have a short conversation, or maybe we just carry somebody's groceries out of the supermarket this week, let us get that sense of community where we cover for one another, that we encourage one another, and we pray for one another. Father God, thank you for providing the opportunity that we can be in heaven with you through the gift of grace by providing your Son as a sacrifice to us. I hope that every listener out here is encouraged by a group of Christians that are willing to stand out and proclaim that we are sinners saved by grace, that we're not perfect, but we're willing to go out there and preach the good news. To those out there that are struggling, that have questions, I pray that you'll give them the courage to reach out and ask some questions, and that they can find answers through Scripture and through encouragement of others. Father, thank you so much for Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen. Tune back in next week. We'll be back on schedule. God bless.